Okay, welcome to today's session. Today we are discussing the telecom sector company Indus Towers. So yeah, I'll set the background of what business Indus Towers is into and their story so far. So all telecom companies or the telecom services providers like Jio, Airtel, Vodafone, Idea, all of them need towers from which we receive signals on phone and which help us connect to anyone, anywhere in the world, nation. So they need the infrastructure, which is nothing but towers, which are connected through fiber or through frequencies. So this infrastructure is provided by companies like Indus Towers. So Indus Tower is the was the merger between Bharti Infratel and Indus Tower. In Bharti Infratel was Airtel Group's company, which was managing its infrastructure, and Indus Tower was Vodafone and Idea's joint venture, or of their own towers. They merged, I think, a year or so, 2 years before, and both Indus Towers and Bharti Infratel. And the Indus Tower is the new entity, which is now the largest tower company in India. So that's the background of what we are going to talk about today. So this business is very easy to understand in terms of what business it is. It is simply renting the premise, setting up a tower, giving it power, all other basic infrastructure like DG set, and allowing telcos to put their equipments onto it. So that's the sort of business for which they earn rental from tower company and pay rental to the landlords. Yeah, so that's the primary business of Indus Towers. Yeah, they are by far the largest with the 2 lakh towers in India. I think, yeah, largest in India, second largest in world outside China. Yep. So, yeah, do you have anything to add, Mohit, on brief overview of Indus Towers?
So, what I can add is basically this is actually telecom infrastructure.
Correct.
And in telecom infrastructure, the tower companies play a very specific role where they're just building the tower. And in the tower also, there are two types of infrastructure. One is which is proper tower infrastructure, the energy consumption infrastructure, the building of tower, and then providing some plugins, etc. for through cables, etc., etc. For telcos to put in their equipments. Now, the antennas, etc., are what telcos put it on the towers. Now, the energy basically consumed is, let's say, diesel consumption is there. And from whatever I have understood, I think it is the telecom towers, the tower companies are the biggest consumers of diesel in the world. This was something new I heard or I gained information on. And kind of, they kind of allow a plugin, which I think I have covered. Uh, so the story so far has been that till India was on 4G model and before the entry of Jio, while the telecom sector itself was not doing as great because of regulatory issues, tower companies were doing very well because of multiple tenants, multiple telcos securing their services or availing their services. And post Geo, there has been consolidation in the telecom industry. So reducing So after
I
that,
think lost you
yeah,
for 10-20 seconds. Maybe you'll have to repeat here.
yeah. So before the entry of Jio, there were many companies, many
Correct.
telecom companies, and although the telecom sector itself was doing okay, but due to regulatory issues, there were many telecom companies which are not earning as much, but still there were in a way tower companies which were doing quite well. Among those was Bharti Infratel and Indus Tower. So it kind of merged and became Indus Towers actually, like you said.
Yeah.
Post Geo, uh, things changed. The number of customers went down to 4, and since the number of customers went down to 4, the business model is such that you are actually working on tenant basis. So where you had 20 odd tenants, now you have only 4 tenants. So telcos kind of gained a bargaining position because there are limited number of telcos, and there are many other issues like one of the parent of Indus Towers was Bharti Enterprises, Bharti Airtel. So Vodafone also, both of them still have equity. So there are many issues which revolve around that. And Reliance Jio has its own tower company. So you will now see a model where each bigger giant has its own tower company, or at least even if not they have their own company, at least they have a corresponding kind of a service agreement. So I don't think in the next 2-3 years at least we will see a scenario where Indus Towers will have a bigger integration with Reliance Jio, although it is 35% or let's say revenue share. So these kind of things have changed the market dynamics. And since customers of Indus Towers have bargaining position, so overall the earnings and the performance etc. have changed. I think that's what I wanted to add to the story so far.
Yeah. Other thing was, I mean, up to some 2008-7, co-locations were not allowed. So
Yeah,
sharing was not allowed. In
yeah,
2007-8, sometimes they allowed sharing. And after that, mostly all of these were in-house. I mean, Vodafone had in-house, Idea had in-house, Bharti had Bharti Infratel. After or at the time of Jio's entry for raising cash, these people started uh, getting them off their balance sheet or selling the towers off to other companies for raising money. So that's another background. Jio has already sold its towers to Brookfield to form Summit Digital. So yeah, so Jio has, I think Summit Digital has some 150,000 towers or some nearby, maybe a little bit increase after the number. So 1.5 lakh. Mm. That's the second biggest company. So right now it is based on the telecom services provider market structure. Jio has Brookfield, Vodafone, Airtel, Idea has Bharti Infratel. Uh, there are others also in the market. American Tower, which has 80,000 towers. BSNL, GTL, and few others. So American Tower is already looking to exit. American Tower is another largest company in the world about around towers. So yeah, that's a few other points I wanted to add on the story so far. Now, in terms of market, so this is the market or the opportunity for Indus Tower is directly linked to the telecom sector in India, demand for connectivity in India, mm, changes in the technology like 5G, increase in the consumption of data. So I think data growth has had some 28% CAGR till December, 5-year CAGR some 28% up to December 2022, and it's going to go further because with the 5G adoption, the data consumption is going to go. And yeah, so 5G is a big game changer for entire industry. Not big game changer for entire industry, but for telcos for sure, because 5G needs a dense network. That also changes the type of tower you have to erect. So typical traditional 2G, 4G were much on the ground-based towers or roof-based towers, large towers. 5G will need smaller towers, which are 3 to 9 meter or something like 6 to 8 feet kind of towers, which will be very dense, and which will be connected via fiber to the base station or the main towers. So that's a big change in terms of technology and overall market. Opportunity is big because telecom needs probably 3 to 4x more towers, number of towers. 5G needs 3 to 4x more towers as compared to 4G or 2G. So as the rollout will go further, number of towers will have to increase. And current model is that only telecom companies set it up. So I guess it's an assumption that telecom companies tower companies will continue to set it up, not the telecom companies. That's an assumption, and it makes sense. It's a logical assumption because no company would want to create their own infrastructure and have debt and use the tower explicitly for themselves and not allow sharing, because sharing is the main revenue driving factor in this business. Yeah, so yeah, there is huge opportunity for growth of number of towers, not the traditional ground base or rooftop, but more micro, smaller towers. There is competition. Brookfield, Summit Digital, American Tower, BSNL, GTL, and others. But in the current environment, the competition doesn't have much incentive to stay in business, because primarily Vodafone Idea, Airtel would like to give it to Indus, would like to rent from Indus, Jio would like to rent it from Brookfield, probably with some service agreement or some contractual agreement with the Brookfield. So others will struggle to most likely struggle to get the more rentals or more tenants and increase the co-location or sharing. There can be another factor to it, that some of them are, if they're strategically located where Indus doesn't have towers or Brookfield doesn't have towers, that can be the use case where few of them can survive. But otherwise, the consolidation is something which is industry is looking forward to. Indus Tower management has commented on this in their annual report, that the way forward is consolidation. Over to you.
There are a few things I want to add. I have a kind of one question which I wanted to know your thoughts also. So, every report talks about India getting more and more penetrated, and I somewhere saw a number of 70 million or something like that, where we were talking about 70 crore Indians being part of this network 5G rollout at the part. Sometimes I think, it is overrated. So yes, you have a huge untapped potential, but it will take years to realize this opportunity. It is not like 5G rollout will probably happen in next 5 years, a major chunk of it. But to tap into opportunity of, let's say, 70 crore Indians is a huge number. I think it will take a lot of time.
Yeah, actually, in the again annual report of Indus Tower, they are saying Jio is planning to roll out by December 2023 and Airtel by March 2024. And I think they are saying some 500 cities. So it's very aggressive. We have to wait and see how this plays out. Actually, in the first quarter of this current financial year, FY 2024, there have been largest addition of towers. Agreed. So that is sort of a little bit of gives us indication that they have started on that path. They will, but how aggressively they achieve the target, how fast they do it, it's something we have to be watchful about. And typically, I think for telecom, the infrastructure and the readiness precedes the market readiness. Because it's infrastructure like power, right? You lay it, keep it ready, then slowly, as the economic growth will happen, as more people will be ready to adapt to it, right? It will get utilized. So probably that should be the case. That should happen with telecom infrastructure as well.
So why I put in this point was I recently read somewhere that the mutual fund industry put in a huge effort by mutual fund Sahi Hai campaign, etc. But still, it could not raise its let's say penetration from 3 to 4% to more than 6%. Still, 6% Indians only invest in mutual funds. While it is a different kind of analogy, because for investing into mutual fund you need more disposable income, which maybe other Indians don't have. But I was just saying, if you so in one industry you're seeing this phenomenon where you're saying that there is a huge untapped potential but you're not able to capture it. And secondly, in telecom, you're while Geo did a lot and we are going into becoming a digital because of that. But still, I sometimes feel 70 crore is a big number to achieve, because you cannot, as you said, 5G is very, very dense in nature. So in rural areas, you may not be able to roll out 5G as easily as possible. So I have that one concern on market. Otherwise, I kind of agree with you. Whatever you said, whatever you know presented, the picture is quite good. 5G rollout will probably help India in achieving the uh, new heights. There is one or two points in terms of market which I want to look at. So the market today, so there is one thing happened in this market, which I think we have covered in story so far or not, is that the infrastructure which was present when Geo entered was older and
Correct.
became obsolete. And the
Correct.
dead burden of that old infrastructure kind of marred the ability of the existing players to catch up with Geo.
Correct.
And I am feeling that could be the case with towers as well, because with 5G, with so that is one area where I think the market has not fully mature enough. The market is not there are threats in the market. The market demand is going to be very good, but there are dynamics like we have already discussed, the telcos being only 4, and if Vodafone Idea, let's say, uh, goes bankrupt, then only 3. Then we are talking about practically there being telcos having a huge power of negotiation. So market, while it has great opportunity, 20% or 25% profit margin, no business can give that. But it has its own, obstacles, its own risks, and inflation, etc., are kind of catching up.
Yeah. So there is one very important question. What's the impact of 5G on business of Indus Tower, right? So although you'll need more towers, but what about the existing infrastructure? So see, existing infrastructure, what is it? It is a tower, either on the ground or on the rooftop, a DG set, electric connection. There might be few more equipments, right? So see, towers will be needed. They are not going to go anywhere. Our penetration is not like very high, like a matured market that we have to take them off some of them. It's not the case. So towers will be there. Towers will be around, but this density of the towers using small towers, micro towers, lean towers will increase. one important technological backdrop or drawback that Indus Tower has versus Geo is Geo towers almost 70% are connected with fiber. Whereas Indus Tower, that number is probably somewhere in the range of 30-35. So that needs huge capital investment. I'm not sure huge or how much. I should not say huge. That's a number to be ascertained, time and cost to be ascertained about that. But it's a legacy cost that Indus has to incur
I
to
think that we
modernize
can
its
also
network.
discuss in risk. I was covering more from market overall perspective that as
Yeah.
a market, this can be one of the legacy issues which kind of got carried off. It can
Correct.
carry on. So these are the 2 points I think I wanted to add.
Correct. So yeah. So yeah, I think.
So, uh, let's talk about some performance issues and the number story, etc. So whatever from what I'm seeing, tower wise, it is number of tenancy addition, 5,000 tenants added, and in a way 5,000 towers added. So that's actually going quite well. That's not at all an issue. And the blip or the downfall which came in the earnings in FY23 was basically due to the provisions, etc.
Yeah.
And much of it was due to Vodafone Idea. So there is some positive coming out with the recent quarter. In the recent quarter, Vodafone clearing its dues and the tenancy ratio also standing well at 1.8, which is so it's kind of it's not going down in this quarter. Uh, in the FY23, it went down a bit, but it is gaining up again. So overall, we are seeing a bounce back in this quarter. And there was good rollout. 5G rollout was went very well. And from whatever I am seeing, I'm looking at a better picture in terms of capex also. 2,200 crores etc. was spent, out of which 1,400 was spent on 5G rollout. So they are looking at the future rightly. And there are many more efficiencies coming up, like lower energy consumption, etc. So things are looking good. Uh, Somewhere around uh, let's say 44,000 million revenue and EBITDA of 34,000. So overall things are looking good. PAT is also going very well.
Yep. Yeah.
So I think overall it looks like okay. Things have kind of bounced back. Um, the monthly rental number has also slightly improved.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, sorry, I should say it has slightly reduced, not improved. That is a bit of a concern.
Okay. What's your source?
I'm looking at an analyst report.
Okay.
Which is ICICI Securities.
Okay.
So it used to be somewhere around 42-43,000 in FY22 and first half of FY23. Then it has gone down to 40,810, 41,201, and in Q1 FY24 it is 41,500. It has improved, but slightly as compared to the previous quarter. But if you
Okay.
compare it with FY22 and first half of FY23, it has actually gone down a bit.
Okay.
So this might be due to the better bargaining position of the telcos.
Yeah. So yeah, actually in last FY, they had a lot of their master service agreements or the long tenure of rental agreements were coming up for renewal. And in the annual report, they did say that they were renewed at a slightly lower prices. So yeah, so rental per tower is going to come down. Yeah, a little bit. Yeah. So, but yeah, I think overall in terms of number story, I mean, it's a very I think if we have to again link it with the business model, it's very simple, right? I mean, you take the rent paid to the landlord. That's one. Whatever power bill is there, that gets charged to customer. So if you use diesel, solar, grid, doesn't matter. It is getting passed on to customer. They do have pressure to go on ESG mode, reduce diesel, but still, so financially it is not something which is costing them as such. So flow of cash flow is very simple. Unit economics is very simple. Take the tower, whatever rental you get, based on whatever rental you have, out of that you pay to the landlord, remaining is yours. And on the past historic numbers, it's been pretty stable. I mean, historic numbers are consistent mostly. I think few blips ups and down will be there, probably due to higher cost or due to inflation to some extent. Yeah, somewhere tenancy, co-tenancy going up and down, that might be the factor. Last FI you already discussed Vodafone, one of the customer Vodafone Idea provisioning they did for receivables. But yeah, I think since the business is simple, the numbers have also been consistent, and it is easier to evaluate, understand that the story so far. Yeah, towers are getting added, as you said. Yeah, that will continue to get added. I think anything else we need to cover on story or performance evaluation?
I think receivables we should cover a bit.
So yeah, so receivables they have provided, yeah, for Vodafone Idea completely.
They have provided, but a trend of receivable is what we should look at.
Yeah, so see, I think FY 2022 there was balance on balance sheet of receivables. FY 2023. So I think maybe we have to get into a little bit detail of Vodafone Idea here. So they had arrangement with Idea last year, Vodafone Idea last year, that whatever your due is there up to 31st December 2022, you'll pay off in some installments or in certain manner, which has not been adhered to, which Vodafone Idea could not pay. So from current year, January 2023, they are collecting whatever they get, I mean, equivalent to their monthly charge to Vodafone Idea. So current, it is fine, but for past dues, what they did, they have provided for it in full. If I remember correctly, they provided in full for sure. But there is also a guarantee to some extent from Vodafone to the company, probably so of payment against the shares against the holding in the company or something like that. It was there in annual report. So so yeah, I mean, there is whatever was to account for, they have already accounted in terms of receivables. Current receivables look like aligned or getting collected on month-on-month basis. Yeah.
It is much more reasonable. So there is cleaning up effect which has happened.
Correct.
Now I think we can rely a bit more when it comes to the realization of these assets.
Correct. So yeah. So I think we covered number story, market and the opportunity. We know there is a change of 5G which will go more towards micro tower, linear tower, but definitely needs investment, capex. Fiberization of the towers will need some capex. So I think Indus Tower, even though opportunity is there due to the Indian market, Indian consumer opportunity is there, demand is going to be there, but to fulfill it, they'll have to do some capex as well. I think capex amounts we have to ascertain a little bit more. But I think historically their capital allocation, the return on capital employed has been decent. So I think that's not a problem. Current debt levels are not high, so that's also not a problem. They have ability to raise.
Definitely, debt-wise it is very secure. So other than Vodafone Idea receivables, there are no issues which look like which can hamper the number story so far.
Yes. So yeah. So do we have anything else to cover on product services, or we can move to management evaluation?
Product services. I think since it is a pretty simple business, which is back-to-back arrangement, etc., and it is not expected to change as such. I don't think there will be much change in the product design, etc. The pricing will change. There will be change in the technology, but not commercial. Commercial in the sense the basic model as such may not.
Yep. We have a technical problem. We'll give him a minute. Sorry, we lost you for 30 seconds or so.
So basically, I'll repeat. Well, what I was trying to say was that since it is a very simple business model, wherein we are in a way you're getting land from a landlord and then building tower of it on it, and then renting it out to telcos. The basic business model will remain the same. The technological changes are going to happen, and there will be some changes in market dynamics, due to which the pricing will change. But apart from that, I don't see any change in products, the services, or the type of the basic structure of the business model will not change.
Actually, I'm just realizing, I'm just connecting the dot. See, your towers are changing to linear micro towers.
Yeah.
They are no more getting erected, or probably they will be erected on private places. But they have now, with the new laws that were passed last year, the right of way, and I think some more. I think Gati Shakti or some of them, they have right to now raise it on public premise. Even Indian Railways changed the rule to allow them to erect on their premises. So you can raise it on. You can have a linear tower on public place. Road, they called it road furniture. I mean, road furniture or something, some term they use. So like you would have seen, I've seen it in Nagpur actually. There are towers raised on the dividers. So so you'll have more towers in public spaces, which means that there will not be a rent to pay because it's part of right. It's on public property. There is a right of way. So that will change model to a little bit at least. I think we'll have to see. We'll have to get into more details of it. I haven't got into it, but it's a bit of change in the business model.
I think I've seen a similar example in power sector, wherein earlier you used to have since the technology enabled the power sector. In Mumbai, Tata Power tested it out, where they kind of installed some amount of infrastructure transformer or etc. on above a public toilet. सुलभ शौचालय के ऊपर लगाया उन्होंने. तो वो काइंड ऑफ थोड़ा अलग था. वैसा कुछ होने वाला है कि I don't know. So let's see what happens.
I think by law they are enabled now. So that will continue to happen, like all those sort of places. So yeah, it's a bit of change, but yeah, fundamental business model of renting them to telcos doesn't change. Yeah. Actually, annual report does talk about other opportunities like putting advertisement on the towers, and there was one more different, which is unrelated, sort of. You can say a little bit like diversification. Yeah, I don't remember the other example, but there are a little bit like these examples, but I don't think any of them are going to go down that route because uh, they have their hands full with 5G and fiberization. I don't think they will go down any of that route. But yeah, so I think
Do
business
you think
model and
at any point of time will they go on per user charge?
no, too difficult to implement, administratively complex, doesn't make any sense, right?
Okay.
Yeah. So yeah. So I think this next logical from business model is management evaluation. So yeah, I think management, since biggest promoter is Bharti Airtel, they have higher seats on board, probably larger control, and inherently this business itself, the way these businesses have the genesis of this merger and businesses is that they are they are dealing among their related parties. So yeah, so management has, I think, 4 board of directors from Airtel, 3 from Vodafone, rest 4 are there, some of them independent. So there is a change in the CEO in the current year, which is important to note. One thing that I observed, I'm not sure how much weightage we should give to that. The previous CEO salary was like 6 CR and current new CEO salary is like 1 CR. It would be good to investigate if he's getting compensated with through stock options, ESOPs or something like that. But there is a big difference. Current CEO doesn't have industry background of telecom, but he has industry background of oil and gas, which are into utility. I think he was with Vedanta or some group. Interestingly, the previous CEO has went to join Adani Transmission, which is into power sector, again, different sector. So yeah, so there is a management change. Management is not experienced, but since Bharti Airtel he's been their business for long since the genesis of the telecom sector, that assures some that gives us a lot of confidence in terms of management's ability to run the business. Also, the business is very simple. I mean, to some extent, like Warren Buffett or Charlie Munger want, an idiot can run a business. It is to some extent like that. May not be that easy, but yeah, it's a simple business.
Maybe what since Vodafone and Airtel are the biggest shareholders, maybe both of them kind of thought that the customer relationship side is stable and will get handled easily if the shareholders are customers. But the cost side will need to be looked into in more detail. That is why probably they looked after a person who is more experienced in oil and gas. Maybe they were looking for someone to, drive down the energy cost or something. It could be possible.
Yeah, I think yeah, it's something to be looked forward to. But yeah, management is competent. There's no question about the competency of the.
Yeah.
I mean, rather than management backed by promoters. Management has to prove themselves. The previous CEO was there for 12 years with Indus Towers, so that's so he probably left it in a good shape. So yeah, I think another future thing about management is how do they allocate capital to the how do they fund capex, how do they allocate capital, right? Again, based on, I think good thing about that is it will be influenced by promoter. Wherever promoter goes, that Bharti goes, Airtel goes, or Vodafone Idea goes, they'll create towers for them, and that's how even the current business works. So yeah, capital allocation risk is not much. I think there is a skin in the game. We can say there is a skin in the game of promoters and management. Not yeah, promoters and management through board of directors for promoters to board of directors, and management also, which has board of directors from promoters. So there is skin in the game. Now, there can be inherent conflict of interest because same promoter is running Airtel, which is the customer of this. So far, there's no based on our limited whatever we read or understood, there are no issues that have been highlighted of corporate governance or arm's length pricing or any issues like that. In the last year's revised agreement, the prices have been revised lower, which is a little bit surprising because with the inflation, the prices should have been revised a little bit upwards. But maybe with the structure of the industry, right? Because the industry had average revenue per unit of 300, 400, maybe something like that in the past, and then it came down to 150, 100, 150. They had to do it, and but it is something to be washed out for. But I think another thing that will compensate probably that risk of pricing is that these numbers have been in public domain for long, the operating profitability margins, and since they treat this as a non-core activity, that's why they diversified, they bought investors, Jio sold off the complete infrastructure to someone. I think Airtel or even Vodafone would like to run a business in a way that probably if they need funds tomorrow, they should be able to do a fundraise for Indus Towers, right? So for that, they will have to run it in a professional manner.
There is a inherent limitation of the management where when dealing with the customer, and it is understandable very well so. But the promoters have also kind of classified in their annual reports as this as non-core, which you rightly said so. And there is a possibility that when Vodafone requires fund, they may sell their stake in Indus Towers. Now, will that help Indus Towers or not? We don't know. It is yet to be seen. Sometimes it happens that if your promoter is your customer, it helps you. You gain more revenue. Sometimes it goes against you. Sometimes you are protected by a promoter, even if you are inefficient. We don't know the full story yet. We will only know the story when if there is some amount of decoupling that happens.
I mean, see, when you say decoupling, you mean stake sale by Indus or Vodafone or Airtel, right?
Yes.
So yeah, I mean, that's a eventuality if they need to raise capital for their core business, right? Now, the point where I was that will they price the services from Indus Tower to Bharti lesser than market, right? And thereby reducing the profitability of Indus Towers, right? So that's the concern I have. Since in the current year the agreements were renewed or rental agreements were renewed at a lower price. So for that, I was saying if they have to raise the capital through stake sale, they'll have to keep this business in the light or in a way that the new investor feels comfortable to pay them for it.
Yeah. So I think one thing which can help in clarifying this issue would be if we are able to like we said, rupees per tenant per month number 40,000 rupees or so is the current number. If we
Correct.
are able to see it for other players as well, it would help.
Yeah, you're right. But Brookfield is not listed, but that number will be available. But even for Indus Tower, FY22 versus FY23, it has went down. Even though in
Yeah.
FY23, it is not a full year effect of the renewed
So
agreement.
that is what I'm saying. See, Indus Tower reducing its prices can be due to market forces.
Yeah.
Like Jio reduced the prices. Everyone had to reduce the price. Vodafone had to reduce the price. Airtel had to reduce the price. So market forces can also determine if you have to reduce the prices. So,
Actually, yeah, your point is very good. Yeah.
so if we are able to compare it with its peers, then only we can comment whether what is happening. Because right now we are not sure whether they are protected by promoters or there is some issue. We are not very sure about it.
Yeah. So I'm looking at the data. So in FY19, tower rental per month without sharing, just the rent per
Yeah.
tower per month was 75,000. It increased to 80,000 in FY22.
Okay.
And FY23, it came back to 76,000.
Okay.
So yeah, probably, I mean, yeah, it's a market cycle. It's a demand supply scenario to some extent, or current market dynamics. Yeah, but yeah, it's a point to be watched out, to be for carefully compared with the peers, whether the pricing is at arm's length. And yeah, but yeah, I think other counter effect that I can think about it, unless and until you let Indus Tower earn money, it will not be able to invest itself further into increasing the infrastructure. So this that risk is not there, or that risk is negated with by all these factors. Okay, any other comment we have on management evaluation?
Uh, I think there are also limitations when I saw or I was reviewing transcript of the earnings call. The clarity uh, of commentary on provisions with respect to accounts receivable or whether related to disputes was not as much as I expected. So I'm not sure what went behind, and I could not understand that story. So,
Yeah, you mean not
and
naming Vodafone Idea?
not just not naming one Vodafone idea, there was also, like you said, there was a revision in MSA, Master
Hmm,
Service Agreement.
hmm,
In that also there was not naming.
hmm.
Then there was one comment on, you know, accounts receivable, variation in account receivable. So the comment was that the bill from one of the customers is being reviewed. And regarding provisions, also when the question was asked, the answer was that the impact is not much. So even though it may not be as big impact, the clarity of commentary should be there, which I found was not enough. There was some, but I would have, uh, if a management is expecting that the shareholders and investors should trust them, so the communication with the on the earnings call or in the AGM or otherwise should be more clear. So as a team, I'm not sure whether there is enough commentary. And also, I found that there were three officials who attended. Prachur Shah, who's the CEO, was there, head business controller, and head of operation. So I kind of thought that I would have liked to see a bigger team of those who are running the show to be present while answering to the investors, while answering to the, whoever is present.
Yeah, typically these management CEO, CFO will be there on the con calls.
That's what I'm saying. I didn't see CFO.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, I think it's the way they are playing this Vodafone Idea scenario. Probably, yeah. We'll have to come to that. So I think next topic we'll have to discuss is competitive advantages, moats. Does this business have any competitive advantages? Or can it's maybe other way to wrong? I mean, to invert a question, will it how long it will survive or will it die?
So yeah, please continue.
Yeah, so I think infrastructure is required as soon as long as you'll need telecom services available. So longevity will be there. With the structure of the market right now, just 3-4 players, it will be difficult for somebody else. I mean, there cannot be a geo moment in the infrastructure, at least the telecom infrastructure, at least, right? There is no incentive for someone new to come and create all the towers again, right? Maybe I think there is a competition in the smaller towers, micro or lean towers, but yeah, there is a competition in the smaller and lean towers, but large towers, the existing infrastructure, I don't think there'll be anyone else has the incentive to create that infrastructure. There will be, I think we didn't talk much about the existing one, but there, yeah, I mean, as I said earlier, Indus Tower expects consolidation in the existing players. That should augur well for Indus Tower because they might be able to buy some assets at a discounted price or a better price. Also, since due to the industry structure, customer will not like to go out and switch to some other provider. Like Vodafone Idea may not want to go and switch to Geo Towers or Brookfield Towers or GTL Towers or American Towers, right? Because there are two things. One is that they have stakes in the Indus Tower. Second, there is a switching cost. If you want to exit an agreement, master service agreement, you have to pay penalty. So that sort of creates longevity in the customer. So yeah, I mean, new player may not come in. Business is pretty easy that you earn rental for what you provide so high operating leverage. You create the infrastructure once and you reap the benefit. Yeah.
In terms of mode, I would like to add one, which is they have a good business continuity process. So in their investor presentation, I found of the cyclones arrived, and in each one of them, barring one, within 30 minutes, all the services were it came back. No issues was there. The one which was I'm talking about, which was an exception. There also 90% of the services, 90% of the areas were covered with, came back. So and there, so in power sector, since I have been in that, there is a ratio of maintenance where you are available, so on time, which we call. So similar ratio here also is there, and the number is 99.95% availability, which is
Correct.
humongous, and that kind of builds the trust. That is, I think, the moat, because any new player cannot bring this kind of trust. If you have a company which has built the processes and it can give you 99.95% availability, you would probably not switch from, even if there is a switch penalty, or if there is no switch penalty, you would not like to switch from this to some other. That is the biggest moat, I feel. uh, Apart from that, definitely the cost of building a tower has gone up. So it's even in lean towers, the inflation has kind of made it difficult for anyone to just like that enter and build tower just like that. You will need if there is some foreign player who is experienced in this comes up and tries and builds it, that's a different game. But otherwise, I don't think without experience and without a good team, without uh, existing yeah, abilities, core competence, you can do that. So there is a huge moat in that. And also, you have relation with all the telcos. You have good, communication with all the telcos. That helps. So I think moat is there. Moat is definitely there.
Yeah, so I think I would not give a lot of weightage to the availability factor. See, because it's a utility business, right? I mean, अगर तेरा phone बंद हो जाएगा तो you'll call and shout. So I
Yeah.
mean, even government can't function. No one can function. So availability, yeah, and also second point would be, or they do have DNA of Vodafone, Idea, Airtel group. So
Yeah.
operational efficiency would be there, right? So
Yeah.
yeah. Uh, so yeah, I think
No, but I am saying that any new player will not have that.
no. See, Geo created it from scratch, right? Now
Yeah.
Geo created it for itself, but there is no incentive for a new player with a lot of capital to come and build that. Yeah.
So that is what I'm saying. That availability, while from outside it will look like that no, it's not. It's nothing. But
Hmm.
someone new coming and giving you that availability, like Geo
I
also
agree.
faced the issue in early
I
days. While Geo would give you 5 GB data for let's say very nominal
yeah
cost, but
yeah
sometimes it used to go down.
yeah yeah I know. Yeah, I mean it will take time. I mean, uh, so gestation period will be very high, even if somebody new has to
Yeah.
come in.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So what next? What are the risks we see for this business? So I think one I think some of them we already touched, like promoter not pricing at arm's length. We touched it. Vodafone Idea we touched about the receivable, but it's a big risk about going concern of Vodafone Idea itself and impact of that. Now, since
Agreed.
maybe I'll frame the question here or impact here. This business is completely dependent on co-location. If you have more than one tenant for the one tower, you make more money. If you have less than, if you don't, you'll not make, operating leverage will not be there. You have negative, you're on the negative side of operating leverage.
Yeah.
So important question probably that everyone, even on the other blogs we followed, right, is trying to, or only dependency or only variable is whether Vodafone Idea survives. If it doesn't survive, the profitability of the business will go suddenly way too down, right?
Yeah.
Uh, so it will be like single sharing or one. Right now, sharing is 1.78 or
Yeah.
1.79, something like that. If it
Yeah.
goes down, it will be a big impact for Indus Tower as a business. So uh, yeah, that's a big risk.
See, I
Uh,
would like to add one point in the going concern issue of Vodafone.
hmm,
So, I read somewhere that even Indus Tower CEO said this that while the 5G rollout is happening, there are only two players who are very actively pursuing it.
yeah.
So, it is but natural that they could not say the third player, Vodafone Idea, is kind of slow in it or what.
Hmm.
But it's an indication that even in the 5G race, maybe Vodafone Idea will not be able to catch it. Which
Yeah.
will
So sorry, go
which
on.
may make Vodafone Idea obsolete. That is the biggest risk. And the impact of that will always be there on, let's say, tower sharing, etc.
Yeah, so see, Vodafone Idea did buy something worth like 18,000 crore worth of spectrum rights in the last one.
Agreed.
Yeah, but I agree that they will. It's very difficult for them to invest in creating 5G or enabling 5G. So yeah, I think I would see even you can still be in market with 4G. You don't have to be. You don't have to have. I mean, at least for a short, medium haul, you can be in the market with 4G, right?
Agreed.
In the longer haul, you'll have to. I mean, 5 years you are probably 3 to 5 years you are okay, but beyond 5 years you are not. And I think that's not the question. Question here is, do they have even financially, will they survive? With the debt of 2 lakh crore, their interest being with the almost in the losses, right? Or barely cash, no cash loss or barely cash profit, right? So that's a big dependency. I mean, what happens? So my thesis, I think my thesis on this was, or even other was, it's very commonsensical, logical that there are subscribers. Those subscribers, whether they are in Vodafone, Airtel, Jio, they will need, if they wherever they go, they will need the access to communication. That company will need more towers. So whether now subscriber goes to Airtel or Jio, or the Vodafone Idea goes through bankruptcy and somebody else buys it, right? Infrastructure is needed. But till this gets sorted, there is a pain for Bharti, I mean Indus Tower, and I think it's a as an investor, it will it will just kill the time. I mean, our investors' money will be blocked without much upside till the time these issues are resolved.
Yeah.
So, but
I'm positively hoping for some new player to come in.
Actually, it's not a bad idea. I mean, yeah, I mean, these are all pipe dreams, right? I mean, the opportunity is there for a new player to come in, right? Because
now the regulations are better for telcos also.
Honestly, I mean, yeah, I mean, in our risk, regulation is one big thing. Regulation is what brought the sector to what it is right now.
Yeah.
AGR dues, and I think even today the market, I mean, even today the shares are down, right? Due to I think probably somewhere they picked up the contingent liabilities of all the companies. Airtel, Vodafone Idea, even Indus Tower has contingent liabilities related to some service tax of Indus Tower. Vodafone Idea and Airtel has some AGR or similar some demand from Department of Telecom. So regulation has been the enabler and killer for this sector. So hopefully, if they learn their lessons and at least do not do the regulatory overreach, right? Which created the current scenario of oligopoly or probably survival of just two players right now, the way it looks like, right? Third one at the cost of exchequer, BSNL. Yeah, regulatory is a big risk, but yeah, I mean, maybe what's your thought on Vodafone Idea survival? Then you can comment on regulatory part.
So Vodafone Idea survival, I think it is becoming more and more difficult. Without 5G, do you have a future or not? That is my question. While in the medium term, I agree with you. 3-4 years you can come in. But even if they have to survive after 4 years, they will need a big funding. So they'll have to either raise funds from the market. They cannot raise more debt. How will they raise debt now? That is the biggest question. So raising equity is probably possible. Already they have given equity to government. Now, will government agree to add another partner? Those are the questions. Or it will go to IBC. These are the two things
Yeah, with the number of variables now, government being in, Department of Telecom, Bharti, Airtel, Vodafone, Idea, 3 promoters, then 4th is government, then Department of Telecom, then you have a lot of regulatory things, and with the debt of 2 lakhs, with banks is another. Banks is another important, right?
Yeah.
So many stakeholders, IBC is much easier, right? Than any other resolution. But one thing was, I think, Kumar Mangalam Birla joined the board this year, which gave a little bit of hope to people. But there might be some thought behind it, but we don't know.
Let's see what happens, because foreign investors may or may not be willing to put more money.
Any new investor his question would be, what about debt? Why would he fund the debt? Why would he take? Yeah, I mean, it's a big question to be solved. I mean, and probably that's, and honestly, I think they would have been in the discussions for more than a year to raise capital, right? Some or other way.
Yeah.
There had been pressure on promoters to put in money. Probably they don't want to, because with the way things have been, they already burned their fingers, and they would have definitely reached out to external investors, and external investors would have wanted some assurance from government, from banks, which probably didn't work out. It's all imagining. I mean, it's all probably commonsensical imagination, even though we don't have first-hand information. Yeah, it's a guesswork to some extent.
So I remember when I was in Tata Power, similar situation was there because of Mundra power plant. Tata Power was running into losses, and we tried hard. Regulatory issues were there, and Tata Power tried so much, but it could not recover. Finally, there was one meeting where I think our MD gave a call, it was an inspiring speech where he said, let's not look into the history. Whatever has happened has happened. While we will fight for whatever it is, we'll fight, but we should now also focus on the future. Let's open up to new opportunities so well that what we are losing does not look that big. The losses don't look that big. So after that, I think there were many variations, many options that were tried out. There were many, opportunities that were looked out for. After that, Welspun Renewables was, merger happened, takeover happened. After that, Tata Power went into renewable very heavily. So, charging stations, electric vehicle charging station, these kind of opportunities opened up after that. All I am saying is, if that kind of repeats here, it would be good. Where you are looking into the future so positively that you are able to generate profit from the new opportunity, and then look so slowly whenever and wherever you are able to look at the losses, look at the bleeding wounds, you try to heal them. Otherwise it will be a mess.
Yeah, it is a mess right now. So yeah, I am also optimistic. I mean, थोड़े मेरे भी ख्याली पुलाव इस बारे में है ऐसे कि the way you said, right, look at new opportunities, future than the past, right? So if they cut down their losses, resize themselves to few circles, profitable circles, disinvest on the spectrum and all that in other circles, and probably pare down the debt, some sort of I mean, you need aggressive management for this, and very decisive aggressive management who can play that. I mean, ये सब ख्याली पुलाव है. I mean, जब तक ये unless somebody does it, हम अभी कुछ बोल नहीं सकते उसके बारे में.
But ultimately, you and me speaking doesn't make any sense. Unless management does it.
Yeah. Anyways, we'll move to our last topic of valuation.
Yeah.
So right now, I mean, valuation right now, P is like 14P or some 14P, but that's after the provisioning for Vodafone Idea receivables probable losses. Without that, it should be much higher. So yeah, March 2023 screener, it shows 2,000 crore as a profit, net profit. I mean, you can say at least 6,000 crore of annual normalized profit, right?
Yeah.
6,000 crore at the current valuation of 45,000 crore, 44,000 crore is less than 8 ka PE. So that way it is cheap. That way it looks cheaply valued. But again, this is with the normal scenario where Vodafone Idea survives, pays the monthly due, and continues to be a customer. If they don't, the numbers would look completely different.
Yeah. So this price.
We'll allow Mohit a minute to come back. You're back, yeah.
Yeah, so I think this price is kind of incorporating the risk of Vodafone Idea. So the worst case scenario, if it happens, which is Vodafone Idea going bankrupt and not being the customer for Indus Tower, then also this valuation is kind of fair. In case Vodafone Idea survives, then you will have a different kind of profit, and then the valuation from that angle, this valuation is very cheap. So I think we are closer to the bottom than to the top. So for me, this is more I would like to invest because FD rates are going at 7%. And if you do 1 by PE, which is basically rate of return, you'll find that it is somewhere around 8% or something like that. So you are getting better one by rate of return in investing in this company than in an FD.
Yeah, again, but with a caveat of Vodafone Idea.
No, I think this price incorporates the risk of Vodafone Idea. Because the last year provisioning, this PE is based on FY22, FY23 profit, and FY23 profit had the provisioning. So I think this price is incorporating the risk of Vodafone Idea.
Yeah, so 14 ka PE after last year's loss. Yeah, I mean, it's a base case, to be honest. You're right. It's a base case scenario, right?
Yeah.
So yeah. Okay, I think there is another point in somewhere, I think one of the blogs, that Vodafone ID, I mean, Bharti Infratel rose 4,200 crore in the IPO in 2012. But they had paid back dividends of like up to 20,000 crore or something in last 8 years. So this might include, no, I think this would not include Indus Tower, but I mean, yeah, they also conducted a buyback of 2,000 crore. So past reference shows that this business generates cash flows, free cash flows very well. With the management of Airtel and Vodafone, I think they should be able to repeat it in future, even with the new investment. Another way to value is the replacement, right? What is the cost? So right now with the 2 lakhs, so okay, Jio sold its towers to Brookfield at 43 lakh per tower. But there is a difference. Jio had fiber backhaul of 70% or so towers. In 2018, Vodafone Idea, I think, sold the towers at 37 lakh per tower to ATC, American Tower Company. So that's the range. 40 lakh is the range. Even with some depreciation, if you say 30 lakh per tower, right? For Indus Tower, the replacement will be like something like 60 lakh crore. Yeah, and so right now valuation is 45,000 crore. So I think debt is only the lease liability debt, so not a significant debt as such. So that way also it looks, so there is margin of safety
Yeah.
in the current prices. Yeah.
I think it's a good business to invest in, but 2-3 years will be, we'll have to watch out for Vodafone Idea. Overall,
Yeah,
it's a good opportunity.
yeah.
It would have been, more reassuring if the management would have been the experienced one. But this is also okay.
Yeah, I think there is clear oversight of Airtel through board of directors. I think Airtel CEO is the one of the board director, right? Vittal Malya. No, not what am I saying? Mittal. What's his name? I forgot. So yeah. Yeah, I think there is a long history of dividend payment, so we can expect dividends to continue. Yeah, that again adds comfort to your valuation, current valuation. So, yep. I think, yeah, Vodafone is a one big question probably in this thesis, and 5G technological changes, not a big one, but still a smaller one. Vodafone Idea is the biggest one probably as of now to conclude. Any other closing remarks from you?
With lean towers becoming new phenomenon, maybe in future.
Lost you. Lost you. You said lean tower becoming the new.
So with lean tower becoming a part of the new telecom sector, I think it is a very big possibility that entry barriers will not be as big as they used to be in the tower business.
Okay.
So that is one risk I think needs to be looked at. Otherwise, this company looks fine.
Yeah. So. See, even with the new towers, right? Somebody else. First of all, see, imagine that we decide to do that business.
Yeah.
Who will take service from us? It has to be Airtel or Jio.
Yeah.
And both of them will primarily prefer their own companies rather than dealing with a new vendor.
That is what I'm saying. Then you are assuming that the Indus Tower or any other tower company is being protected by their promoters.
I mean, no, even protected or think about.
When the promoters kill the competition by being your customer, you are kind of not exposed to the bigger market, and your promoters or your customers prefer only you over the market. Let's say in a future, Vodafone sells this stake in this Indus Towers. Would you kind of create a company which will, give services to Vodafone, which is now independent, which does not have any relation with Indus? And can you kind of try and convince Jio and Airtel to buy some part of their revenue, services from you? These kind of questions will always be there.
Yeah, but I was actually going there. Imagine Airtel being independent of Indus.
Yeah.
They will have switching cost, right? Switching cost in proper cash switching cost. Also, why? I mean, no, I mean, switching cost may not be there in case of new towers, new micro towers, lean towers. You don't have switching cost, but those towers need to get connected to your infrastructure through fiber. So there is again a dependency. Also, why would I entertain a new vendor unless and until you bring something unique to the table?
Of course.
Yeah.
So, I'm agreeing to that. All I'm saying is that the market has shrunk both in terms of telcos and also in terms of tower companies.
Yeah.
But I think there is a possibility, since the market is so small, there is a possibility of new players coming in. And if there are some light asset models like lean towers, asset heavy models, there is a clear entry barrier. But there are asset light models which are coming up. And in asset light models, there is a possibility of new entrants being incorporated.
Yeah, there was actually there is one listed company from Mumbai or somewhere which is into this, very small, tiny, micro cap probably. I don't remember the name, but there is one company into it. But again, I mean, yeah, it's something you have to scale, right?
I'm
So
saying, is the democratization of this sector possible?
probably
That is
that.
an open-ended question I am leaving. I don't think we can
Yeah, I know.
discuss.
Yeah, I think, yeah, I was saying that probably a tech guy would be able to understand the network, how it is set up, right? Will be able to answer this, right?
Yeah.
And also, I think from my first hand knowledge, जैसा हमारे building में बाहर पोल लगा है, Airtel and Jio and all that, right? You have to go through a lot of pain of handling the local government, knowing your way around whatever RWAs, residential associations, local politicians, and all that. So, yeah, I mean, it's not. Yeah, I mean, it's something probably. Yeah, I think your question, can it become something like a local cable operator, right? Can he create his own small uh, own small network?
Yeah.
Yeah,
That is a
probably.
possibility. I'm leaving it at that. It's an open-ended thought.
Yeah. Okay. Anything else do we have?
I think we are through. We have done a lot.
Okay, then thank you.
Thank you.
We'll stop here.